Hi, I'm Carolyn Evans-Hammond and welcome to my tasting room. Carolyn's tasting room is where you can taste exciting wines with me. And this week we taste a flight of wines from the country Georgia. Now Georgia is located at the intersection of Eastern Europe and Western Asia between Russia and Turkey. Georgia is a very special place for winemaking with real historical significance. It's one of the oldest winemaking regions in the world. Archaeological evidence shows they've been making wine there for 8,000 years, consistently. And they still use the ancient methods to make the wine. They use amphora-shaped clay jars called Qveri. They bury the Qveri in the earth, crush the grapes and place them in the Qveri, and start fermenting them without separating the skin from the juice. Then, when the fermentation is finished, the wine is kept in contact with the grapes for several more months. That's the traditional way. In the end, the wine has serious structure, tannin, aroma, and length. And if it's white, it turns amber. Of course, not all wine from Georgia is still made that way, but some is, and we'll be tasting some of that today. So today's flight includes the 2019 United Stars Mukuzani Dry, the 2019 Koncho Katsatelli Qveri, the 2020 Tbilvino Qvevris Saperavi. Let's taste. So the first wine in our flight is a 2019 Mukuzani. Now Mukuzani is a wine style made from the Saperavi grape variety. The red Saperavi grape variety is the most planted grape variety in Georgia. So it's important to know the wine and the grape variety. It's not made using the Qveri method, but tasting it will get us acquainted with the variety itself. More on the Qveri method a little later. So pour yourself a glass and let's first look at the color. You'll immediately notice just how dark the color is. It's also quite purple, which is classic for Saperavi grapes. Now it's nice and opaque in the middle, and it tapers to sort of a very narrow purple rim. You can see that. This is a 2019, so we've got a few years of age, and yet it still looks youthful in the glass. Remembering that, the color of a wine at the rim is the best way to tell the maturity of a wine. Maturity being, of course, different than age. So this still looks quite youthful, and it's a testament to the ageability of Saperavi grapes, which is important. So give it a swirl and a sniff. Oh, isn't that incredible? I love this. Now this smells a little bit like Cabernet Sauvignon. You're getting the dark berry fruit, even Christmas cake notes, right? You get that? Sort of muddled black currant, as well as raspberry. There's a spike of red fruit in there too. And the Christmas cake, if you think about dried plums, maybe raisins, sultanas, maybe a bit of nuttiness, maybe a hint of maybe even molasses, as well as floral notes. There's absolutely a note of violet going on. But every time you approach this, are you getting something new, something different? I certainly am. And that's a testament to the complexity of this wine, as well as Saperavi grapes. Now this wine, this is important to know because also it's $19. This is not expensive. And yet the complexity is evident, the concentration is evident, the ageability is evident, all hallmarks of quality. So let's have a taste. We'll let it slide in and just experience the wine first. Isn't that lovely? Sun-drenched, lots of fruit. It just drenches the palate. Beautiful concentration, and yet there's still a lot of cascading complexity. As it sweeps in, you're getting the fruit. It's fresh, it's pure, but it's also incredibly earthy. There's black earth, there's spices, there's dried fruit. Wonderful. This drink's like a wine worth twice the price. It's a little bit of a hidden secret, Georgian grape varieties. Love that. Now have a sip. We're going to focus just on the tip of the tongue to see if it's dry or sweet. Do you notice that? Now this is a bone dry wine. This is, much of Georgian wines are actually fermented completely dry. This certainly is, and I love that. This grape variety can be used for fortified, but this is a bone dry table wine. Fabulous. And it also only has 13% alcohol, so it's got lots of concentration and power, and yet the weight is not heavy, making it lovely to drink at the table. Great affinity to food here. Also, the complexity is marvelous for food pairing. Traditionally, they would pair this with game foods or game meats, as well as goat cheeses. But there's lots you could do with this wine. Have another sip. Let's focus on the size of the palate to see how high the acidity is. As we just sip it, we're not seeing it stick out at all. There's no, evident sharp acidity, but let's just focus there and see how much our mouth waters. Yes, mouth watering. Yes, balancing acidity. Scrapes the palate clean, lovely, but it's not sky high. It's just in perfect balance with the fruit, and I love that. And on the back of the palate, no alcoholic heat whatsoever. That 13% alcohol is completely cloaked by fruit. And that fruit, on the finish, it's going on and on and on, and it's changing, it's morphing. Complexity, yes. And the tannins are wonderfully polished. It's velvety. So this is a great value wine and very versatile. The second one on our flight is a 2019 Koncho Katsatelli Qvevri. Now, Katsatelli is a grape variety. It's an ancient pale-skinned grape variety grown in Georgia, and it is responsible for the original orange wine. This is made in the Qveri method, meaning an amphora-shaped clay pot buried in the ground. The fruit goes in, it ferments on the skin and pulp for months. And in doing so, you end up with a wine that's quite amber colored. This is important because, as you know, orange wine's having a moment. Everybody's making orange wine, but this is the original orange wine. Same method, same place, same grape variety. They've been making this for thousands of years. So this is an exciting wine to taste. So pour yourself a glass. Notice the color, it's amber. That is a direct result of the winemaking method. This is a pale-skinned grape variety. If it's made traditionally, it would be a white wine, much like Pinot Grigio. So pour yourself a glass, enjoy that color. This is the kind of wine, you can spend some time just enjoying how the light, pierces the wine. You've got beautiful golden inflections, amber color, beautiful. So a swirl and a sniff. Now this is interesting because it's not as aromatic as you'd expect, and yet there's lots going on. So it makes you work a little bit for it. You notice that? Spend some time, and I think you'll notice marmalade, sort of bitter orange, peach. There's a note of fresh peach. Some sort of yeasty notes, which makes sense. It spent some time, obviously, on the leaves. Beautiful, almost like a buttery note, too. Nuts, hazelnut, no cashew, Brazil nut. Lots going on, and I love it because it's understated, but it opens to you as you swirl. So this is a bit of a serious wine. Now this is a wine that costs about $25, so it's not terribly expensive, but there's lots to offer. So have a sip. We're just going to let it sweep in before we get technical. Is that what you expected it to taste like? Maybe not. Now this is a wine of texture. Texture is really important for this style of wine. There's grip, there's tannin because of how it was made. And it's also, as you know now, dry. It looks almost like it could be a sweet wine, but it's not. So have a sip. We'll focus just on the tip of the tongue to see See if we can guess the residual sugar. It is dry. I would say it's bone dry. Maybe 2 or 3 grams, max 4, but this is a dry wine. It also has 12.5% alcohol, which is relatively low, and yet there's weight, there's body. That's lovely. Have another sip. We're going to focus on the size of our palate. We do know that, the Katsatelli grape variety is a high acid grape. It's often, sort of compared to Chablis or Chardonnay even in terms of its acidity. So have a sip, focus on the size of the palate, and see how much our mouth waters. Quite mouth-watering. You have to focus there because, there's so much fruit and texture that it balances that acidity, but it is a high acid grape, and that holds the fruit up, layering in, structures. And I love that about this wine. This is such a textural wine, and you'll notice everything cascading. All the elements we found on the nose are cascading, and then they really linger on the finish. This is the kind of wine I would love to have with grilled chicken. I'd love to pour it with guests and have them guess what it is, because it's got such a great story to tell. And the last wine in our flight is a 2020 Tbilvino Qveri Saperavi. Now, Saperavi, of course, is a grape variety. Part of this wine was made using the Qveri method. The rest of it was made using traditional method, and they were blended together. So let's see what we're experiencing in the glass. Pour yourself a glass. Let's take a look at the color. Remember, the depth of color is there. Classic for the grape variety, deep, dark, opaque with a purple rim. So give it a swirl and a sniff. Such complexity. Now, we know Saperavi grapes are very complex anyway. We've already experienced that. But this is even more so because it spent that time in Qveri. You notice that? Oh, lovely. So as well as the usual, cassis and dark fruit and all of that we found with the first Saperavi grape wine, we're getting more. Here I'm getting, hints of licorice, maybe black tea. Yes, the violet is there. Yes, the black fruit, the muddled fruit for sure. And I'm also getting an earthy note. Might be power of suggestion, but I'm getting clay. Now, they often line the clay amphora with beeswax to sort of seal it. But still, that's I'm getting that. Are you? That wonderfully earthy note, which I do often get with Qveri wines. It's beautiful. Oh. Now let's have a taste. Isn't that beautiful? Sweeps in, smooth, beautiful balance, and yet the texture is there. There's cashmere, not velvet, in terms of the tannic expression. And it lingers on the finish, and there's such a umami savoriness. I'm even getting a hint of maybe soy sauce in there. Do you get that on the finish? Which leaves the palate wonderfully seasoned. This is a $30 wine, but it's the kind of wine you can serve with good company, with lamb or something like that, where it's a statement wine. Love that. So let's have a quick sip. We'll focus on the tip of the tongue to see if it's dry or sweet. Bone dry. Absolutely a bone dry table wine. Let's look at the weight. Again, that wonderful juxtaposition. Lots of mid-palate stuffing, concentration, hallmark of quality, and yet it's lifted and it's lowish in alcohol. It's only got 13% alcohol, making it a medium-bodied wine that's so wonderfully drinkable. This is, everything on the nose is being echoed on the palate, as well as more nuances. I'm getting that soy sauce very, very strong now. And it's a kind of wine you can really spend some time with. Let's have one more sip. Just focus on the sides of the palate to look at the acidity. Very high acid, but You do not notice it at all because there's so much else going on. So well balanced. This is a great quality wine that introduces us to the Qvevri method. So there you have it, 3 very special wines from Georgia. Fabulous, aren't they? Which one did you like best? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe because I'm coming right back with another flight of delicious wines here on Carolyn's Tasting Room so you can drink better and learn how.